Welcome to the show, guys. Got an exciting one here for you. And no, it's not too early to talk about rankings, particularly my favorite position, the running back position. So in this episode, yes, January 4th, we are talking about the top 5. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 running backs for fantasy football 2024. The ridiculously early season isn't over yet from the previous season. Not over yet. Rankings. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous, but we got to project forward because this season is pretty much done. I know a lot of people, not even a lot, but some people are actually having, their fantasy football championships this week. But for most people, I'd say 99.8% of people are done with their fantasy football for this season. So we're moving on. We don't sit back and relax. We're right on to 2024. So make sure you guys are subscribed, thumbs up, and drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys think of this list. Is it crazy? Did I miss anybody? I know a lot of people will debate on one guy missing. I'll tell you who it is right now, but I left them out, and there's reasons why. But guys, drop a comment below, subscribe, thumbs up. Lion mentality. I'm here for you guys to help you guys smash your league. So we're going to dive into this 5 running backs here. Join the Patreon group as well. We go year round. That's where you get your inside information. That's where I deliver first. Join the fantasy front lines. Linked it here below, guys. And I've got major things coming this year. It's going to be the biggest year ever. I'm telling you, it's going to be massive for the Council Nation. Lion mentality. Smash it. Smash that thumbs up, guys. It only takes a second of your time. Really helps the channel. All right. So as I'm looking at these 5 running backs, not going to spend too much time on it because it is preliminary. We're having fun here. I know a lot of people are passionate about fantasy football, so I'm going to keep that content rolling for you guys in the offseason. Now, this one's really tough. The first 3 were pretty easy for me. I was able to pick the first 3 running backs. Well, 1, 2, 3, but the 4 and 5 were a little tricky because the landscape of running back is a disaster right now. I mean, we don't know till after the draft how things are going to fizzle out, if there's going to be any changes. Are these guys, certain players, going to end up on different teams? But I will tell you, there's certain players that are in the top 10, which I believe are going to fall out next year, including Raheem Mostert, Kyron Williams. He's kind of a guy I'm going to be observing. I'm a little bit on the fence about him. He has the upside, right? He was banged up a bunch of games. He only played 12 games, finished as a top 5 running back. So he could easily be in this list. I'm going to leave him out today, but I'm going to come back to him. Rachaad White, I'm not really sold on. Joe Mixon, again, this is after 17 weeks, the list I'm looking at here. Joe Mixon sitting at 7 amongst running backs. Not going to happen again. He's being phased out. He's not even that good. Okay, so there's certain guys here that are going to fall out, but yet the mainstream are going to pretty much do a copy and paste. So again, there's a lot of guys I'm on the fence on. So that's why picking the 4th and 5th guy here on the top 5 was pretty tough. But I've come up with 5 here. The top 3 I'm comfortable with. The other 2, not really comfortable. Again, I got to see. I have no idea. We don't know what's going to happen. Is there going to be an injury in playoffs for some of these guys? Are they going to move to a different team? Are they going to draft another rookie that's a top stud coming out of college? So we're going to know more in April, but we're having fun here, okay? So let's go with number 5 here. I'm going to go here with Devin Achane here, who as of 17 weeks in is sitting at 24 amongst running backs here. The guy's averaging 8 yards per carry. There's an easy chance this guy, if given the volume, now I'm not crazy on Miami running backs, that's the thing, but there's a chance that Devin Achane can be a top 5, top 10 running back next year. Again, this is super early because the other options here that I'm comparing them to, there's Jerome Ford, who finished 14th after 17 weeks. James Cook, I'm not really crazy. Derrick Henry, who I think is on his way out this year. Alvin Kamara coming off a pinnacle year, right? Gus Edwards, who's sitting ahead of him. David Montgomery, who's the RB2 on his team. Like, there's certain guys here, like, I just wouldn't put on ahead of Achane, who was a 3rd-round pick. He's explosive. He's young. He missed a little bit of time. He played 10 games. Imagine if he played a full season and comes in as the starting running back on a relatively high-octane offense. So, again, Achane, I'm questioning this, but based on youth, explosiveness, opportunity, he can be special if given the volume. Now, I'd definitely like to see more than 93 attempts next year, but I think they figured out who he is and how good he is, and he can get some work this upcoming year. So I got him at 5 here, but very early. And again, I say this as a disclaimer, guys, because so many things are going to change. Now, I don't do rankings. Understand this. What I do is I pick the talent per round. That's why I create a 16-round draft solution, which I'm going to be releasing the end of April. And you could pre-order it even before that. But in that, I tell you all the optimal players to draft in each round, right? Avoiding rankings. Like, for example, this past year, Eckler, that guy just faded him, right? But he was coming off second, so he would have been ranked second. I'm like, I'm not ranking him because I'm not drafting him. Does that make sense? So I look at the players based on where they're coming off. You don't do rankings. Rankings won't help you win. You got to know with the ADP. You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know who to draft in a particular round, okay? You don't just go in and say, oh, top guy, I'm going to draft him. Like, for example, Mike Williams, I don't know what his rank was, but he was coming off in the 5th round. I'm like, I'm just going to fade him. But he was a top 15 or 20 wide receiver. I'm like, why would you draft a wide receiver too? Another guy, T. Higgins, right? Coming off in the 2nd round, he's a top 10 wide receiver. I'm like, no. I'm not going to put him in the top 10. He's a wide receiver 2 on his team, and I'm not investing a end of 2nd round, early 3rd round draft capital. So I'm able to scout out who to draft in each round. That's why 16 rounds is the truth, and rankings don't help you. But for educational, entertainment purposes, for fun, mainly for fun, we do rankings, okay? Just to give us an idea of, I use rankings as a guideline, right? On where players are coming off and how we can capitalize on that opportunity. Laporta was ranked 21st last year, right? I'm like, just pick him up in all your leagues. Get him as early as you can. I got him in around 8 or 9. People thought I was crazy. I'm like, dude, I don't care where he's ranked. Rankings don't mean anything. Laporta's going to be the man. Look at the situation. Look at the opportunity, right? Nobody saw that. They just had him ranked 21st. Rankings don't help, all right? I went off on a tangent because I'm giving you guys the foundation so you guys can actually win your leagues. None of this BS here. Lion mentality. That's why you got to smash the thumbs up. I'm giving you guys value, okay? Coming at number 4 here. I'm not too proud of this pick either, but I've warned you guys the 4 and 5 aren't too warm and fuzzy. But I wanted to compile a top 5 list. But Saquon Barkley here at number 5. Now, Saquon Barkley, I would feel that this point in his career, if he was going to do anything outstanding, he would have done it by now. He hasn't really. But Saquon Barkley finished 16th after 17 weeks here, 229 attempts, averaging 4 yards per carry, only 4 touchdowns, just under 1,000 yards, 17 weeks in. Unacceptable for a guy that, has that caliber, has that upside, has that potential. But, if given the opportunity, if given the volume, if all stars align, this guy's a top 5 running back, but it hasn't for him, and I don't think it will. But when I compare other guys that are currently sitting higher in him in fantasy points, 17 weeks out, guys like Tony Pollard, I like him more than Tony Pollard. Jerome Ford, we're going to have to see what happens there with Nick Chubb and that whole situation. Pacheco, I don't really care for. James Cook, I think he's better than James Cook. Derrick Henry, I think he's got more upside than Derrick Henry. There's certain Joe Mixon, all these other guys that are sitting above him in the rankings in fantasy points 17 weeks out, where he's sitting 16th amongst these running backs or 15th or whatever. I look at him and I'm just like, man, out of those guys, I like him more. Now, there's other guys that can emerge, that can really do well next year. Guys like, let's see here, Kenneth Walker, maybe. Jaylen Warren could be used as a primary back. We'll see what happens with Najee. There's so many things that can happen. And a rookie could come in and slide in here as a top 5. So many things to consider. But as of right now, I've given you, other options. Saquon Barkley's got to do something at some point. And maybe next year's the year, who knows? But, years to wow us, and we're not really wowed with them. So something to monitor, something to watch with Saquon. But I got him at 4 right now in January. This is definitely going to change here, okay? Now, the next 3 are very important. Again, smash thumbs up. And these guys can't actually finish as top 3 running backs. And they're going to be expensive. You're going to have to pay for them, one more than the other. But the number 3, I got Bijan Robinson. Now, some people say, well, that's not how you pronounce his name, but it is. We went over this. I did a whole whiteboard out. I took a whiteboard and a marker, and I explained why his name is Bijan. So bi-weekly, Jan as in ran, tan, fan, Bijan. Anyway, long story short, Bijan at 3. We're going to have to see here because I would want Arthur Smith to be out. We need Arthur Smith out. Mind you, though, near the end of the season, down the stretch, Bijan's volume started to go up. They started to realize that, hey, man, we need to start using this guy if we want to win. Now, when I'm saying up, not really up that much, but it felt like he was getting the ball a little bit more. It wasn't like crazy. But, if you look at, week 17, he had 15 attempts, 16, 12 attempts, 7 and 15, 10 and 14. I think he had like 18 attempts in week 13 and 16 attempts in week 12. In week 10, he had 22 attempts. So, earlier on in the season, it was 10, 10, 14, 11, 11. There's a couple games where he spiked up in volume. So anyway, I would like to see, ideally, Arthur Smith out of there for Bijan succeeds. But we know that it's not a talent thing. Talent is there. We'd have to see opportunity. But again, there's got to be some changes. They need a better quarterback. a lot of things have to change for me to really want to buy into the Bijan hype. That being said, he is young, he is dynamic, he is talented. And, I would like to combo him with one of the other two guys, ideally in a situation. If I can get these guys on my team, that would be so amazing. I had them on my team this year. They're going to be more expensive this year. But again, Bijan number 3, things are going to change. Some people are upset. Well, why is he number 1 this year? Well, I need to see Arthur Smith. I need to see a quarterback. Arthur Smith out, quarterback edition would be nice, okay? Coming in number 8 here. He's sitting at number 8 right now, fantasy points after 17 weeks. But a guy who's number 2 for me is Jahmyr Gibbs. Listen, Jahmyr Gibbs is the man. Now, if you extrapolate, pull out his stats here right now, and you put on the attempts that were wasted on Montgomery onto Jahmyr Gibbs, even if you took 100 out of, how many attempts did Dave Montgomery get? 209. If you took 100 attempts out of the 209 that Dave Montgomery had, Jahmyr Gibbs would be the number 1 running back in fantasy football on fantasy points 17 weeks out. The guy's averaging 5.4 yards per carry. The guy had, 169 attempts, just under 1,000 yards on the ground. The guy can get it done receiving. 70 targets, 52 receptions, okay? That's phenomenal numbers, right? CMC had 272 attempts, finishing number 1 here in fantasy points. Imagine if all that volume went to Jahmyr Gibbs, who's far more explosive, far better running back, far younger, far quicker. I mean, it's such a waste of talent. The guy's sitting number 8 in PPR fantasy points, 17 weeks out amongst running backs. I mean, and he's only had 169 attempts. To put that in perspective and context here, 169 attempts, that puts him around, where is he? Way down here. 31st in attempts amongst running backs. 31st, guys. He's sitting there with Austin Eckler, who's been a big bust, Stevenson, Madison. Zach Moss had more attempts. Tyler Algier had more attempts. Listen to this. James Conner had more attempts. Gus Edwards had more rushing attempts at 188 compared to what Jahmyr Gibbs did. Devin Singletary, Pacheco, Javonte Williams, 208 attempts. All these guys had more attempts, but they didn't put up as much fantasy points, right? So when you look at the ceiling, the upside, the talent, the explosiveness, I'm all over Jahmyr Gibbs, but you're going to end up paying for him this upcoming year. His ADP is probably going to be first round, mid-first round, but I think it'll be well worth it. I think the Montgomery thorn in my side is going to annoy me, but I still think Jahmyr Gibbs eats, and I think that if the Lions really want to win and succeed, they have to play their best running back. That is Jahmyr Gibbs. I think Montgomery is going to be a goal line guy until he gets hurt again. So, Jahmyr Gibbs is the guy. I got him at 2 right now, just based on talent, opportunity, youth, explosiveness, and the fact that he's done so much with so little is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, 9 touchdowns on the ground, or was it 8 or 9 here? We got 9 touchdowns, and Montgomery hoarded away 12. Can you imagine? This guy would be a 20 touchdown, 2,000-yard rushing season guy. I mean, it would be insane how much, because the thing is, give him more opportunities. There's more opportunities he could break out for those big runs. He just never got them. If someone's taken away 209 attempts from you on a season, that's 209 times you could have broke up for an explosive run and really padded those numbers. He would have been the rookie of the year easily. He would easily probably break the rookie record for most rushing yards. That's how good he is, and that's how much he was hindered. And we saw how good he did when Montgomery was sidelined. So Jahmyr Gibbs at 2. Love him. Barring any injury, he's going to be up there. Montgomery's going to annoy me, but I'm not going to be deterred from the talent here, okay? And number 1, this one's pretty easy for me. By the way, before I get to number 1, CMC is not number 1. And I did a video on why CMC is number 1. 5 reasons. Go watch that. Go back a couple of videos. Make sure you guys subscribe. Turn on bell so you're not missing these. 5 reasons why I won't be drafting CMC. Now, he's going to be a direct copy and paste. And a big part of it is he's already hurt for week 18. Injury. Okay, already showing red flags of injury. And I'm not going to get into all the reasons why, but go watch that video. I've linked it below. Or just go back a few videos here and you'll see it. But again, make sure you turn on that bell, subscribe. We go year round. You don't want to miss this offseason content. It's very valuable, okay? Breece Hall is my number 1, by the way. Now, the guy, 4.4 yards per carry, only had 4 touchdowns on a suspect offense. They only get better next year. Now, they even brought in Dalvin Cook this year because remember, prior to the season, they were weaning Breece Hall in. So Breece Hall was not 100% going into the season. Yet he still broke up for runs and really needed a year to get integrated and fully back to top-notch shape. With Dalvin Cook there being a pest, with getting a slow integration on a terrible offense, 17 weeks in, this is a top 4 running back. Now, barring any type of injury and assuming that the offense only gets better and he gets the volume he deserves, and he goes full floor. He's going to be 100% next year. God forbid he gets injured again. But if he stays healthy, this is the number 1 running back in football. Now, if Jahmyr Gibbs didn't have Montgomery, I would easily say Montgomery's the man. But I'm comfortable with those 3 right now. Breece Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan, Achane and Barkley, that could easily be swapped out. I need some more research here, more intel. I need more intel. I need the NFL draft to happen, all this stuff to unfold before I can make an executive and proper decision on anyone outside the top 3, because after that, it's a crapshoot. It's been a weird year. Like Pacheco stepping up, Jerome Ford, all these guys that are just kind of finding their role. Jalen Warrens of the world, they're all finding their role. And until I feel what their role is after the season ends, after the playoffs kind of fizzle out, after the NFL draft, we get a better feel. And that's when 60 rounds comes out and we're able to do absolute domination. Okay, guys? So, top 5 running backs, early running back rankings for Fantasy Football 2024. Make sure you guys subscribe, thumbs up, leave a comment below. Let me know if you guys agree with this. Who else would you slide in the top 5? Who would you slide out? Would you include Christian McCaffrey? Or do you think a pinnacle year will decline McCaffrey? Love to get your feedback. Make it interactive and hit that lion thumbs up. We'll talk soon, guys. Fantasy doesn't end. We're going hard every day. We're out.